Hey everyone, welcome back. I hope you are all doing well. I, on the other hand, have been fighting a stomach bug the last few days, so I have felt like utter shit, not really wanting to do anything other than sleep, mostly, when I can, when my kids allow such things. I actually passed out by about 5 o'clock Saturday afternoon, and other than the couple hours that I woke up that night, I slept clear till Sunday morning, so I got about 14 hours of sleep, which was pretty nice, but sadly, I still could have slept more. But, anyways, just want to welcome you to another episode. Again, I thank you for listening. For any listens you can give, that's great. I appreciate the support. Just any help growing the audience and getting this out there is really appreciated because this has become my therapy. I really look forward to recording anytime that I have ideas and any stories I can put out there that can help with someone, someone conquer any kind of anxieties or just get past something that's bothering them or just have a good day because we know how hard those can be to come by for sure. And so anyways, we just gotta look out for each other. And I just want to get to a story today that's kind of hard to tell. Um, it has to do with me becoming a dad, so it's got some anxieties and actually some PTSD attached to it, just because of how everything kind of went down. But we'll start from the beginning. I found out I was going to be a dad in the fall of 2015. I was very nervous, but at the same time very excited. But I was nervous because I thought that maybe I wouldn't be a good dad just because of my own issues. But I always knew I wanted to be a dad because it was something that was missing from my life and I knew it. And honestly, ever since I became a parent, a parent, it's been very fulfilling. I dote on my kids every chance I get. But and they, what they say is it's true. You don't really realize your capacity for love until you have a child. And I'll definitely get into that a little more detail. Um, so anyways, like I said, I found out I was going to become a dad in the fall of 2015. Me and my wife were very excited, and it kind of happened all of a sudden. We'd only been trying for maybe less than a month, and then all of a sudden we're pregnant. And you have to keep it a secret for those first 3 or 4 months or whatever it is, just to make sure everything's progressing the way it should be with the pregnancy. So we announced it that Christmas actually, and the whole family was excited. It was gonna be, I want to say, my parents' 10th grandchild or something to that effect. And yeah, thankfully the pregnancy itself was very smooth. Aside from my wife she had to deal with the glucose monitoring, and she had to go on kind of a diet just to keep that under control and to check her blood and all that fun shit. Anyways, I was still working swing shifts at that point. I was still in that crappy job that I hated. But anyways, I had come off a night shift, and I was passed out from that. And my wife came in and said it's time to go because her water had partially broken. And so we went to the hospital, and at that point it was just a waiting game. We got checked in and everything. Nothing really started to happen until probably about midnight or so. And after maybe an hour and a half, about 2.5 hours actually, my daughter decided to make her grand entrance. It was about 2:37 in the morning. It's one of those times that you just don't forget. The second that we locked eyes, I was in love. I love this kid more than anything in the world. She's definitely a daddy's girl, even to this day. She's 5 years old now, gonna be 6 this summer. And, the delivery started out okay. And we got to the point where my daughter was out, but then the placenta did not want to detach, and it started to cause complications from there. I'm sitting there, and I can hear this sound, what sounds like water running on the floor. And it turns out it's my wife. She is bleeding. She's actually started to hemorrhage, and she's bleeding onto the floor, and I can still hear the sound of just the water, or the blood just running on the floor, just like a constant flow. And I I'm sitting there holding my newborn, and I have no idea what to fucking do. So I go get the doctors and everything, and they spring into action. Thankfully, we had a wonderful doctor. And, it was kind of touch and go there for a minute. They were not sure what was going to happen. So they had to take my wife out of the room. She's still bleeding at this point because they tried everything they could to actually detach the placenta themselves. And so my wife had to be rushed to emergency surgery. So for the next, I want to say half hour or so, I am thinking I'm going to be a single dad. I just had my first kid, and my wife is going to not survive the birth. And I'm in utter shock. I'm shaking. I don't know what to do. We're just waiting for the doctor to come out and tell us anything. But and the worst part was that, other than all that, her mom and dad were there, so they were a wreck. And the night that her little brother was born, her her mom actually knew of a woman who had actually died from the same thing. She did not survive the birth of her child because she had hemorrhaged and bled out. So I'm going through every worst possible case scenario in my head, and I'm just in utter shock and disbelief. But then, like I said, about a half hour, 45 minutes later or so, the doctor came out and said she's going to be fine. And, we all just breathed that giant sigh of relief, and we're just so thankful for the fact that she's going to be okay and she's going to get to see her child. But she would have to spend the night in the ICU to be monitored. And at this point, I'm so sleep deprived. It's 6 in the morning. My parents have been there all night. Her parents have been there all night. So I just, everyone just, it's this point that everyone just needs to go home and get some rest because the worst is past, thankfully. And, so my wife's in the ICU for that night and most of that next day. And all I can do is just curl up next to her. I'm sitting in this fucking shit recliner chair that, a lot of hospitals have, and I'm just trying to get some sort of sleep and just trying to recover from the shock. And my daughter, she's being looked after. She's in the nursery at this point. She's checked out completely fine. She was 100% healthy when she was born. And I'm just trying to get any kind of sleep. So the next day rolls around, and they tell us that they still need to monitor her a little bit, but for the most part, she's okay. And so my wife's finally actually to meet her daughter officially. And so I go get her from the nursery and bring her to her, and she just curls up with her for, I can't even remember how long. It was a while. I mean, quite honestly, duh, that's what you're going to expect. And, that whole thing, because we'd spent the next, I want to say 2 or 3 days almost just in the hospital before they finally let us go home. And that whole thing just traumatized both of us so badly that we were honestly kind of afraid to have another one. But fast forward 4 years later, we find out we're pregnant again. It was completely planned, so it was one of those situations where we were trying, it wasn't happening, so we're like, you know what, let's just wait, and we'll try again another few months down the road or something. But that was not the plan. My son he was already in progress, I guess. We found out the fall of 2019 that he was coming. And like I said, the whole ordeal with my daughter had traumatized both of us so badly that my wife actually took out an insurance policy on herself in case things went south. Because even though, for the most part, my son, my wife's pregnancy with him was pretty much the same situation. She had to go on a diet. She had to monitor her blood and all that stuff. His head was actually measuring kind of big, so they were worried about that. And, but other than that, everything was fine with the pregnancy. Other than the first doctor that we had, I'm pretty sure this woman, at that point, she should have retired, in my opinion. We went to 2 appointments with this woman, and both appointments she sent us to the hospital for nothing, telling us that, she couldn't find a heartbeat and all this. I don't know if it was just because of bad equipment or this woman she needed to retire at that point. But we went to the hospital 2 times for nothing. We get over there, the nurses, they do their thing, and discover everything's perfectly normal. My child is there. His heart is beating as well as it should. And, it went through all that ordeal. So both pregnancies had their fair share of shit. And, the day comes that my son is due. I think we actually might have passed, we got pretty close to his due date, because his due date was actually my birthday. He was born July 15th, same day as my mom, so he shares a birthday with his grandma. But during that delivery, we actually had a different doctor from the first time. Unfortunately, my wife's first doctor had just taken a job somewhere else. But we had another great doctor. That first doctor we had with my son, obviously, we left her and went to a different doctor, and this one was really great. He knew about the whole situation last time, and we were prepared for every situation that we could be at that point. And so, the night comes that my son's on his way, and during delivery, they tell us that they might not be able to get him out naturally because his head's so large, and they might actually have to, God forbid, break his collarbone to get him out because his head was so large. And my wife was not having it. She actually took that as a challenge, and within 5 minutes, I think, of the doctor saying that, he was out. She put everything she had behind those pushes, and he was out, and he was out safely. And, God bless that woman, because she's probably one of the strongest women I've ever met. She got my son out safely, and this time there were no complications on her end. And she was able to actually spend the night with her son and rest. And there was no emergency surgeries or no ICUs at this point. And, so there was just all of that. And, it was at that point that, after these last 2 pregnancies, we were not going to tempt fate again. We decided we were done. And here in the last year and some change, I actually got fixed. I was not going to, because she had told me that either I get fixed or she does, and I was just not going to let her go through any more shit for the sake of me or my children. She had done her job. So I went and got snipped, and it was not as scary as they say it is. I was in and out, so that was good. But, we went through all of this, and we're still, like I said, we're still kind of traumatized from it all. I mean, that stuff never really leaves you, especially for my wife on her end. Obviously, she almost died giving birth to our daughter. And, thank God that she didn't, because I don't know if I could have done it on my own, and just all the things that she thinks of to raise our children that I never would have thought of. Just all the little stuff, like taking them to the park and the zoo and doing all the school shit and just being the best mother that I could ever ask for my children. And, you know, after all of that, it was just, like I said, we decided we were done. And there's still a part of me that kind of wishes that we would have another, but then again, I don't think I could physically handle another child like my son because he was not a sleeper like my daughter. My daughter, from the first night we brought her home, she was a sleeper. But my son, absolutely not. We just recently got that child to sleep in his own bed in his own room. I mean, with his sister, but it was all just a very trying experience. I wouldn't change a thing as far as being a parent. I love being a parent. I love my kids. I mean, yes, they are rage inducing sometimes, but that comes with the territory, I'm pretty sure. But I would never change a thing. They were what was missing from my life. They have been very fulfilling to me. And like I said, I would not change a thing. They have completed me in ways that I didn't know that I was not complete. And just, I guess the only bad part of it all is the fact that my dad's gone. He was not able to be around for my daughter past her first birthday. He unfortunately got sick and he did not make it. And it's something I think about every day because I went through the same thing. I did not get to know my grandparents at all. They had both died when I was a baby. So, and it was always a fear of mine that my kids would get screwed out of their grandparents like I did. I mean, fortunately, they still have my mom, and she gets to spend every day with them and make memories and, get to know their other grandma because they still have my wife's mom. And, but it was just, the last few years have been a tidal wave for sure. With everything with my son, he had gone through some stuff last spring. I don't really want to get into it too much, but there was some shit where the police had to get involved. And in my opinion, the person responsible never truly paid for what they fucking did. But thankfully, my son is strong and he does not have any lasting effects from it. But anyways, yeah, it was hard for me to lose my dad and everything because my kids, I was mad for them because they didn't get to know this amazing man who loved his grandkids, all of them. Like I said, we've got, because I'm the youngest of four, so there's already several grandchildren ahead of my kids. And so it's just been one day after the next, just trying to, I constantly, there's actually a picture of my dad holding my daughter on the fridge, and all I can do is remind them, who that is and everything. But anyways, so like I said, yeah, like the last 5 years have been rough as far as, we've been blessed and we've had loss and there's been grief. But anyways, if you stuck through and listened to this, I appreciate it. I know it was kind of a dreary topic, and thankfully at least part of it was a happy ending. My kids did not lose their mom. I did not lose my wife and have to go down this path alone, which would have been a fucking nightmare. I would have become a socially retarded hermit and sworn off women because, just for a lot of reasons. Just to be there for my kids and everything. But anyways, I hope you take something from this episode. It's definitely hard. I think this is the longest I have ever rambled on without stopping the recording and doing editing mid-record. And, like I said, don't take things for granted because you just don't know what could happen. I did not expect at all for things to go the way they did when my wife was giving birth to my daughter. It could have, thankfully it went in our favor, but it could have very easily gone the other way had we had a bad doctor or, just timing was bad or anything like that. But again, thanks for listening. You can catch me on Facebook and on Twitter. I have handles on both there. ALLeffedUP, I believe, just on Facebook, and ALLeffedUp Pod on Twitter. I'm slowly working on getting more content out there. It's just, like I said, these last few days have been rough. I've just been kind of under the weather. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I know it kind of dragged on, was kind of slow-paced, but I wanted to just kind of get you in the mindset that I was when all that was going down. And anyways, I hope you have a good day. Check back next time. I think I'm going to go for maybe Tuesdays and Thursdays for episodes, or maybe Tuesdays for full episodes and Thursdays for the Why Am I Like This segment. But, it just all depends what time I got to work with and what ideas I guess I have. But anyways, I hope you all have a good day, good night. Maybe this will come out just in time for you to have something to listen to while you fall asleep. And you can listen to my dull-ass voice put you to bed. But anyways, guys, take care. Thanks for listening. Catch you next time.